So ever since Ruben Amorim came into the club, there have been tactical questions about his side's ability to build the ball from the back and play into the second phase, and then eventually dominate possession. However, I think recently, in glimpses, we have seen that first of all, Ruben Amorim knows what the problem is, and also he has some ideas on how to solve those issues, although personally I still think we need a slight tweak. That is of course what we will be discussing in today's video. If you could first subscribe to the channel please, that would be amazing, and then we'll get into it. So as I hinted at in the intro there, the first thing that we need to discuss is actually what the problem is, and I think by now everyone knows one of our build-up issues is the fact that the middle centre-back moves into midfield. Very often this has been Harry Maguire. He is not a central midfielder, so he is moving into this position here. United play the ball to one side, and basically we're a little bit too easy to lock off in these moments. It's too easy to crowd us out, and essentially the issue is Maguire moves into a position here where he's not really helping Onana, he's not giving an option on the ball, but he's also sort of blocking Onana. He's so close in this position that Yoro can't play the pass back, because if not, the opposition player is going to strike. And this is the issue basically. This positioning of the centre-back means that the opposition only need one of their players to mark two of our players, and of course that's a problem with the structure, not the individuals. And we actually saw this problem in the most recent game against Fulham. You can see United here down one side of the pitch trying to create the overload. The problem I have here is Harry Maguire, and the fact that for me, he's not doing anything here. He's not effective at all. He's not really bringing much to the team, and he's actually blocking the pass back to Onana. Dallo, as he gets his head up here, can't go back to Onana because the player marking Maguire could easily go and get that ball. The other problem is, Maguire isn't an option because the whole time he is stood behind the man. We can't play out. The other tactical issue that United have been facing is another one that I keep going on about, the horseshoe of doom, where United get into this position where you have the ball here as the centre-back, you play the ball forward, but unfortunately this player is receiving with his back to goal, so he's got to pass the ball backwards. And then we go across the pitch and have a go down this side, but again, unfortunately, this player is receiving with his back to goal, and essentially United just keep doing this, going round in this horseshoe shape, and basically we can't move the ball forward because all our players get stuck. We don't really have the passing angles, we don't have the players in midfield that want to take the ball, and United, of course, have a problem. But I said at the start of this video, United are starting to show solutions to these problems, so let's look at that. So the solution to this particular problem, the horseshoe shape, has been Bruno Fernandes and him dropping a little bit deeper into the back four, giving United the extra man in the first phase. This works a little bit like this. When we've got the ball here, Bruno Fernandes will drop into the back three, but it's now a back four. What does this do? Well, it allows our centre-backs to split a little bit wider. This means that we now have a back four across the back. The first thing we've got is a numerical overload. If teams are going to press us with just 3 players, we've now got 4, we've got more players, we should be able to move the ball forward in these positions. The other thing that we now have though, is because of the fact that Yoro and De Ligt have split a little bit wider, it means that our wing-backs don't need to receive with their back to goal in these positions. They can actually get themselves a little bit higher up the pitch and actually play in a more attacking sense. So the first thing that this gives us, this solution, which Amorim has been using in moments, the first thing this gives us is the ability to play long over the top because the wing-backs are much higher, so we can sort of pin the opposition a little bit better. You can see here, Bruno Fernandes wants to sort of rotate into the back four. He doesn't quite get there on this occasion, but the idea is still happening. The movement pattern is still happening. He wants to rotate towards the back four. Yoro can move a little bit wider, and Yoro moving wider means that Maguire can play the ball long because Dallo is now higher. Not Dallo. Dorgu. Dorgu is now higher because Yoro split a little bit wider. That is what we were just talking about. So in this moment here, Yoro splits wider, Dallo or Dorgu, whoever it is on the day, can go a little bit higher, and now we can play the ball long. So that is one solution that Amorim has been using. The other solution has been, once again, Bruno dropping into the back four, Yoro and De Ligt splitting a little bit wider, and it's now essentially the fact that we can carry the ball forward from this position. Because now we're not using a traditional wing-back in this position, we've essentially got a dynamic which is a bit like a full-back here and a winger here, and a full-back here and a winger here. So the whole U or horseshoe issue that we've got, where we just keep going around the back, is now gone. Because a fullback doesn't receive a pass from a centre-back with his back to goal, he receives the ball side on, which makes it much easier to carry the ball forward, and then when you get this runner here, you have space to progress. So rather than receiving with our back to goal and being forced backwards, we actually have the license to play forward. And again, we have seen this in recent weeks in this game against Ipswich. Again, you can see Bruno sort of going towards kind of dropping into the back four, and it means, and this is the important part, the centre-backs are playing wide. The centre-backs are playing wider, and in particular, Lenny Yoro is now essentially a left-back. And he's not receiving with his back to goal, he is receiving in a position where he can get his head up and carry the ball forward. And once again, because Yoro is higher and able to play higher and carry the ball forward, Dorgu, our left wing-back, once again, is not receiving with his back to goal. He is playing as almost like a left winger in this moment, playing really high up the pitch, and once again, Manchester United are able to get into the final third. This is United coming up with tactical solutions. However, there is one problem with all this. Bruno Fernandes is doing this. He's dropping into the back four, whilst everyone else pushes high up the pitch. We then have an issue that this zone here, the midfield, becomes pretty much completely empty. This is why we need a new solution that's just a little bit different. So the task we essentially have is to still get an extra player into the back three to create the overload, to still pin the opposition defence back by pushing men forward, but we want to have numbers in the midfield as well. How do we do that? If only we had a spare player somewhere that's a good ball player that could make up the extra numbers. Andre Onana. Now bear with me on this one because I'm aware of the fact that he has had a torrid time recently, not playing very well at all. We know that his shot stopping technique is unorthodox, shall we say. However, as a ball player, I still don't think you can doubt his quality. People will throw it at me that he plays long ball football, I understand that, but that is because of tactically how United have been set up, the problems that we've just been speaking about. Onana can solve a lot of our problems, because rather than Bruno Fernandes dropping into this position here, Onana can actually move up. Now what does this do? Well, first of all, it gives us this 4 in the first line, so it gives us an overload against pressing opposition threes. It means that our wingbacks can push much higher and pin the opposition, so we've still got long ball threat. But whilst doing all of this, we now actually have midfield numbers. We haven't emptied this space because Bruno Fernandes is now playing in there. And you might still be a little bit dubious and think United probably can't do this. Well, what if I told you that we can, because we have literally done it before. Under Erik ten Hag, do you remember that guy? He of course tactically got a lot of things wrong, but there was one thing he got right, and that was that in certain games, he used Onana really well. Here, Onana is the extra centre-back, and what Onana wants to do as a goalkeeper is draw people towards him, like this, to draw the player towards him, to make space for someone else. Onana can, for me, without doubt play as the extra centre-back. How does this help us? Well, it means that midfielders can play a little bit higher. So as Onana has the ball here, stepping out, this is where Maguire is playing under Amorim, by the way. Now we've got Onana doing it. That's the difference in terms of ball playing ability. That's a different type of player, and it means, like I said, that the midfielders can go higher. So we can see Christian Eriksen here doesn't need to drop into the back line to receive the ball. He can start higher. But what he eventually does, after United, take their time a little bit, move the ball from the back, this space is open. At the moment, for United, we've got this clogged. Sometimes it's Maguire in there, it's Ugarte in there, Bruno Fernandes is in there. Players are starting in this position, and when you start somewhere, it's much easier to mark. However, when you arrive somewhere, it's quite difficult to track. And this is what United did well under Erik ten Hag in this moment. We leave the space open, and then the player arrives into the space. Much more difficult to track, and he can play the first time ball around the corner and move the ball out wide. This is good from United. This is how we should be using Onana in the first phase. Not Harry Maguire, clogging this space, leave the space open, use Onana on the ball, and let midfielders arrive into this space. I really do think this is a solution. It's also a solution, using Onana to some of our other problems, using him in the back four like this. You can see, realistically, if you took Onana out, this is a back three, a bit like what United are doing currently. If you move Onana into it, instead of Bruno Fernandes, we still get the back four, but we can have players a little bit higher up the pitch. And this is what we achieve here. Onana sends the ball long, but because we've got a goalkeeper playing in the middle of the back four, rather than a midfielder, it means we've got the extra number higher. So the ball goes long, United don't win the ball, but look who's up there. First of all, we've got a winger pinning the opposition back, and United could achieve something very similar with our wing-backs. But Christian Eriksen is in there ready for the second ball. This is what United need. We need to stop vacating the midfield. So currently, we go long, let's say from Onana, up towards the top. We lose the ball, it drops in there. We can't compete because Bruno Fernandes is in the back four. Whereas if we move Onana forward, we move Bruno Fernandes forward, when the ball goes long and the second ball drops, now we can compete. This could completely change the tactical landscape for Manchester United. It can improve our ability to play out in the first phase. So in these situations, when we're deep, Onana is part of the back four, keep your centre-back at centre-back, move the other two a little bit wider into full-back positions, and let these midfielders arrive to try and play the ball out. Perfect. That's what United needs to try and do moving forward. And then, as we move a little bit higher up the pitch, Of course, I'm aware of the fact that Onana can only go so far. He can't literally play around the halfway line, but we can use him as a tactical solution to build the ball in these positions to still stop that horseshoe shape. You know, we've got these wider centre-backs, which allows us to play the ball forward. We can pin the opposition because our wing-backs, Dalot and Mazraoui or Dorgu, whoever, are high. We can pin the opposition, but we've still got numbers in the middle of the pitch to cause problems for the opposition. This is why, whilst Onana has been a massive problem for us recently, if Ruben Amorim is brave, is bold, and tactically makes quite a difficult decision, if he does those things, Onana could go from being a problem for us to actually being our solution in the first phase, but also in the second phase. This will give Manchester United more of the ball, which means we can control and dominate more and do less defensive work, which, if you're a United fan, probably seems like a good idea. United doing less defensive work sounds like a dream. So I think Ruben Amorim actually has the tools already at the club to solve some of the problems. It's now over to him. Deliver tactically. Upgrade this Manchester United team. Help us evolve. That is ultimately his job. My job for today is finished there. I think that is everything that we need to talk about. I think Onana can provide a solution, but as always, these are just my thoughts, my opinions, my assessment of the situation. I want to hear what you think in the comments down below. How can we use Onana in a different way? How can United improve in the first phase? Let me know what you think down below, but apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.